You ever feel like you have too much to deal with? Getting that feeling today on Monday. It's Monday, March 6th, 2023. There's a lot going on. It's not your normal video. So it's a video where I'm going to answer questions. And I was thinking about starting to format the videos this way because oftentimes, it's a podcast. Like I want to talk, I want to joke around. I like talking through things. And also I start getting a bunch of different questions about different products and files that I've sent and sold to people over the years. So I figured I would answer all of your questions rather than keep responding through multiple emails back and forth because there's a lot of like complicated answers to things. That's the problem. Is I can tell from your question you've got an answer. It's a really long-winded answer because I want to be fully detailed and explain what I'm talking about. So what are we going to talk about in this video today? We're going to start with payroll, and then we're going to go into NHL algorithm talk. But the theme of this video here on Monday is about databases and sources of data in databases. So why is that important? Well, it comes down to the fundamental aspect of everything, which is like, well, when you ask a question and you want one answer, one finite answer, like what are the number of Mississippi allowances on form 89-350 for fake employee Benny Boombop in Mississippi? The answer is 1,500. That's the source number for that. And what's cool about basically almost every algorithm file I develop is I have one source number for everything. And I make sure that I always derive formulas from that source or from a source that is proximal to that after another formula. And we'll explain how all that works because I like to make things super easy, meaning if you want to change something, you can just change this and it's going to change through the entire file throughout every pay period, every paycheck, everything. That's all you would have to do. You don't have to also change it in other places where it exists, like right here in the pay periods record sheet. Now, you could run into situations where you do need to change this for a certain pay period because the person changed their allowance in the middle of the year. Say they started at 1,500 and then they wanted to move to 3,000. Well, whenever they moved to 3,000, that's where you would hard code that 3,000 here. Okay. That's where you would do it. And I've been wanting to do something for a while, which is this. Okay. So in order to identify when someone is trying to change or break your database string from the source information, like this information, like this 1,500, all the way through to where it flipped, in order to identify where somebody broke that chain somehow, because we want this to be connected to everything most of the time. There's a really cool formula that you can use. And we're going to start it right here in A4. And I've talked about this formula before, but it is a way of showing when someone typed over a formula or if there is no formula in a cell. And that is, you do a conditional formatting formula here. This thing is really huge because I'm always getting files sent back to me from people that have done work on them. And I want to be able to know if they changed any of my formulas. Now, if they change them to a different formula, this is not going to show up. But if they typed over, okay, you want a new rule, you want to use a formula, we're in cell A4 right now. So we want to say equals is formula. That's right. Is formula is the name of this. We're in cell A4. So we put A4 in the middle of the parentheses. Equals false. What a weird formula. And that's saying if it's looking for a formula and it doesn't find one, we want to make this cell yellow. Is what we want to do. So we've just done that. Now, what is that going to do? Well, as soon as this person changed their allowance to 3,000, we want to fuse their 1,500. Watch what happens. Doesn't show up there yet because we haven't applied that formula to all of the cells, which is what we're going to do right now. We're going to apply this from A4. Instead of A4, we actually want this to cover everything, which is going to make everything else yellow that we don't type in. Okay, so we're going way down into no man's land. We're going all the way down in our data set, and we're applying this formula to everything, which goes all the way down here to cell, LR 523, we should say, is really everything. Okay, and we apply and watch what happens. Now all of a sudden, this showed up as yellow because we typed over it. Now it's not going to be yellow. Now it's a formula again, right? This is the source for understanding when anyone types over any formulas. And now everything that doesn't have a formula in it is yellow, by the way, meaning you can type in it. So now all of a sudden we've just changed the logic in this file so that anything yellow you can type over unless it shouldn't be yellow. Well, I got a question. Phyllis, this is for you because this is your super long-winded answer. I got a question. You're like, Phyllis in Mississippi. I talked to her on the phone and sounded like a really nice lady. We had a good talk, and she's working with the file and she's learning the file. And I understand there's a lot going on because you're trying to bring in all your historical information into your payroll file. Well, she sent me the file and she goes, I messed around with it. I don't know what I did. The rows ain't working. And you know what I saw when I got the file? Is I saw this. Saw this, or nothing in local tax. But I saw this, right? Something like this. And I saw these yellows here and I go, oh, well, you just typed over the pay stub. Your pay stub is never going to change again once you do that. So I already had these yellow formulas in here built in because it's such a frequent question I get when people are like, I broke my file and it ain't working. What's wrong? I'm like, oh, did you type over the pay stub? Yeah, of course. That you can't type over the pay stub. Pay stub's got to always have formulas because if you type over it, it ain't never going to change, right? And it's really obvious when you think about it that way, but you're not thinking about it that way when you're doing the pay stub. And I've been there. So I made that mistake myself and forgot about it for a while because the end numbers are oftentimes the same that's coming off of whatever your paycheck is supposed to be because they don't affect this. So you type over here, guess what doesn't change? The net pay. It doesn't matter that you typed over here. That ain't right. Like whatever you sent out to this person is not right if you typed over it. And you can tell if there's a yellow there that at some point you typed over it and you're in trouble. So don't do that. Don't do that. Do not. Like, look, do we need to add something in here? Or why just point people to this video talking about typing over pay stubs? I want to add a comment, be like, don't type over, but you got to know this is a final rendering of database information. That's what this pay stub is. It's not the database. It's not the database. People love it because people use it to try to get fake loans and stuff. They need to generate pay stubs. I know I get people that buy this that want the accurate derivation of pay stubs so they can manufacture their own pay stubs and mess with this. Hey, that's your own problem. I mean, if you're going to buy it for that purpose, I don't condone that behavior because it's fraud if you're submitting fake information. But if you need to create accurate information for a real business, and you need to file and you generate pay stubs, this is how to do it correctly as well. So don't type over the end results of things. But if you need to type over the database, well, what is the database? The database is broken up into a few different sheets here. One of them is the matrix, which is super complicated. I ain't even going to get into that, you shouldn't have to get into that unless you're changing pay period frequencies and stuff, which I've done other videos about. But generally, there's the database here, which is the employee info database. Okay. And that's where you enter in your employee info, but that's separate from what you think of as where you put their hours and everything for the period. So there's a daily entry sheet, but the daily entry sheet actually doesn't matter at all. It's not even really a source database. It's a source database for the real database. And the real database is this sheet, which is the pay period record sheet. And so this thing, which is called all P, is what I've named this range. I don't think it'll let me zoom out as much as we need to zoom out. You see how big the word is here. All P is what's starting to show up in blue there. So that's the entire database of all potential pay records. This is all 50 states. This is any pay period frequency. This is local taxes. This is county taxes for everything. I mean, it's as complete as I've been able to make it. It's of course not 100% complete because that's kind of impossible. Like tax laws changes are ongoing, and It's one of those things where you just get a notice from your tax authority sometimes that things have changed. You wouldn't even know because it's legislation that gets passed whenever. There's no timeline for that sometimes. I've seen many tax changes in the middle of the year. So that's why I keep a file and I try to update it when I hear about something happening. And I also have a Google Sheet. Well, in this Excel file, this main database sheet, which is the pay period record sheet, this one is the one where as you're entering in historical information, you do need to make some stuff yellow that's not yellow, basically. Just you do need to type over some stuff. You need to do it in here because whatever exact state tax you withheld, if it didn't match this exactly, say it was 150, you need to type over it here, but you have to do it in the proper record for the person. What person, what pay period. That's where you do it. And that's the only place you do it. You don't do it in the pay stub. Pay stub will change now after you do it here. So understand that the main database of the payroll file is the pay period record sheet. This is where you're going to source anything. And when you do type over it, understand that you better fuse your payroll file for the rest of the year and not start changing stuff and not try to renew it for next year and just clear stuff out because you've overridden formulas. So now I hope I made it clear exactly where you're going to override formulas and what's going to happen so that you know you've done that. So that anywhere we see yellow, we should only be able to enter in information. If we saw any other like speck of yellow, right, we would know we got a problem here. You know, as we're browsing, we're like, where did we type over anything? Did anybody type over anything? Yeah, where is it? Oh, it's wherever that yellow is. So you can kind of scan over everything. See, we lost it. Where'd it go? There it is. I don't know how to search for just yellow, but you can definitely browse it. And anytime you pull a formula from above or below over it, it will make it the formula again. That's how this file works. So I hope that explained what to do now. What do you do now when you're entering your information? You make sure that you go into your pay period record sheet and you find the columns that you want to change and only change them in the proper records here, you know, wherever they are. And it's tough to know which one it is, but mostly it's just going to be state tax. I did another video on this. It's mostly going to be state tax or federal tax, the only two that you're probably going to have to change. The federal tax one is right here. All the way at the end. It's right. It's under current federal tax. It is way over here. You have a different, you may be in a different column in your file because I pruned out all the other states, but this is where it is the yellow one that says current federal tax. So that's how you update the payroll file. I hope that answered your question, Phyllis. There's other people that purchased the payroll file today. I got confusions about people paying me from one account and purchasing the file with another account on my website. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. I'm busy with that. So Jose, if that's you, or if it's the other person's name from North Carolina, I'll email you, I guess. I don't know what to do here. Sometimes PayPal will test me out. They'll try a fraud prevention check where they'll have somebody like pay twice, basically, and then they'll respond like a few hours later saying they accidentally paid twice. I had that happen to me, and we know they're going to see, what do you do? Like, do you refund the money, or do you how do you respond? So I had this happen once. I actually text messaged the person after their second payment, which had come in like less than a half hour after the first payment. I text messaged them and I go, "Oh, you don't have to pay twice for this. Don't worry." And I refunded it even before they generated their email saying that they had accidentally paid it with like a refund. It was the funniest thing. And they didn't respond to my text message. It was obviously an attempt to see how I react because it was so funny. So anyway, I do checks like that because I don't want people to use someone else's credit card or something and pay for something or whatever, because I get purchases from all over the place. So either of those people that paid me or contacted me, you can get back to me and we'll figure out what's going on there. Next, NHL. So this is why I decided to do this video. This is Adam. So Adam sent me a message and I responded immediately, like I always do. And I'll tell you what, I'm starting to get annoyed and angry by this point because I got a million things going on today. And I was like, he's like, can you send me the current copy of the file with which you left it with? And that's what I saw after I read a bunch of other stuff, glossed over it. And I was like, I really thought I made this clear. It's a 1-day copy. I don't do it every day unless somebody pays me, even though you see it every day. Okay. You see it in videos oftentimes almost every day, but you're not paying attention because it's not actually every day for every sport. Like I haven't done NBA in days. Nobody's paid me. I haven't touched it. It's a big file, a lot of stuff. I did a lot of college basketball because we have the March Madness tournament going on, and this is prime time for college basketball. I don't have that file up here because I already did a video about it last night. I don't have any time to look at it today at all. And I really don't have time to look at hockey either. But because you emailed and you got me annoyed, I thought, all right, well, let me back up. I've been here before. I'm overwhelmed and I'm starting to get annoyed at everybody asking me to do stuff and not understanding that my time is like, you have to pay me to do this. Like, I'm not just going to do this. But then I realized I'm being an asshole and that I should shut up. And so I was like, all right, he's got a question. You have a question about a database and you're trying to do it yourself. And I can obviously answer your question to help you out. And in the course of doing that, I'll do NHL today in case anybody else asks me. I'll do a very, very quick version of it. So what's going on, he's trying to update the NHL file and it's getting messy. So let's talk about why it's getting messy. You have, this is the theme of this video, you have a database in the NHL algorithm. The database is the cube sheet. Okay, so a lot of things feed into the cube sheet, but the cube sheet is the main database whenever you're looking at all the picks and stuff for the day. Like I know some scores of these games. Didn't I didn't refresh yet. Watch, you refresh here, and you'll see the database just updated, the rendering of it. Like we don't type over things on this sheet because this is supposed to be connected to the database. We change things in the database. So when you are updating from day to day in this database, because this database uses time, it uses previous games, it uses all kinds of stuff that make it a dynamic database that you have to keep an eye on. Well, here's what you do. So you got an area within this database that you now want to fuse and not be connected to the current daily odds sheet. It's this area right here. And I kind of like our idea of making it yellow because it will show you exactly the cells that you want to be yellow that are not yellow, right? So let's add our awesome formula, the coolest formula in the history of man. It really is. This is my favorite formula ever. We're going to add conditional formatting again. We're going to go new rule, use formula equals is formula. We're in cell H1887 right now. H1887 is formula equals false. So weird. So weird. Yellow font black, not automatic black. There we go. And doesn't work yet, right? This is because this is a formula. We want to apply that formula that we just created over to every single cell in the columns that go from H to O. Oh my goodness, I don't even need to do that because we're going to start at row 2. It's going to be H2 to O1887 apparently. Apply. Okay. So good. We want yellow to be everywhere. Look at see some area where there isn't yellow here. There isn't yellow here yet. All right. Now I'm going to pull this down all the way to here because I want to keep that logic going and I want that stuff to turn yellow anytime we turn this stuff that used to be a formula into a formula. So now it's really obvious what's going on here. 3-6. Today is the 6th. There's going to be some games today. Let's get them first. Then I'll show you why it's important to freeze things. So let's go and get some odds for NHL. They're going to be right here. And when you grab those odds and you open up that Excel export, comes out. You can't see it, but I'm copying it. Now you go to the NHL algorithm. And we're going to add it to the bottom here. because I really want to talk about goaltenders and starting goalies. Because Adam's question was actually about, I'm having trouble getting the starting goalies to work right. And I know why. I'll show you why. So, because it matters which day they are and how you obtain them. So we've just brought in stats for the next, or sorry, odds for the next day. They automatically build themselves into the cube all the way down to here. Okay. This said error, these all said errors before. They're now there because we connected the cube to the odds compiler. Now here's the problem. You've got these games that finished the day before. They're formulas. We don't want them to be formulas. We want everything that's history and done to be yellow. Now it's yellow. So I turned the formulas into values by copying the area. I copied it, and then I paste special or paste as 1, 2, 3, which turns it from a formula into a value. Now we're good. The reason why we're good is you're going to see how we're going to fix the goalie starter problem, and we're going to fix these errors. It has to do with who's the goalie starter here. Okay. Now, while the raw database and the big answer to the question, when you say, hey, Ken, what goalie starter do you have logged in your file for today? I would say right now for Edmonton, we have error playing because it's shown in the cube as an error. It's also shown in the daily odds sheet as an error because the cube is connected to the daily odds sheet. Well, why is it an error here? It comes from a different spot. It comes from the goalie stats page. And it comes from understanding like whether or not they're playing, right? So you could start editing this file, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't edit this file like crazy. That's not what you really want to do. You want to do one quick copy paste. This is why I supposedly made this easy. Is you go to NHL and you go to starting goalies and you copy this page, Control A, Control C, and then you paste it right here. I'm going to clear out the area first, but you're going to paste it match destination formatting paste. So that is supposed to work. Okay. Now, as you do this, it gives this like vertical line of all this data that came from this sheet, right? And I wrote some like not great code in here to extract the name of the starting goalie and whether or not they're confirmed or expected. The problem is the number of games changes every day. So in order to get the confirmed or expected to work right, you actually have to go to the first time a goalie's name appears, right? The goalie's name doesn't appear until you got team names here. You have Edmonton, Stuart Skinner is confirmed. That's what that means in this order. So you have to go to Stuart Skinner's name in this column T, type $, and the first time the name confirmed or expected appears, you have to go down to that cell and then you paste that formula down, and now it actually works because now it's properly staggered to pull whether it says confirmed or expected right. And that makes this work in the odds compiler, in the daily odds sheet. It makes the name pop up next to the person, makes the name pop up next to the person now in the cube as well, and gets us to projected scores for the game. So now when we refresh, you see we have errors for yesterday because there are no starting goalies for yesterday, but we do have the correct lineup for today. And this is an error. I know. Don't worry about this error on the end. That's not a problem. All right. So what is going on is we have games now. Now, I haven't done a complete job of updating the NHL algorithm. I need to grab player stats. I need to grab standings. I need to do all that stuff. I don't want to. I don't care. I'm happy with this today because nobody's paid me. Not even Adam. Although Adam paid me for the previous day, just didn't pay for today, which is me answering questions to infinity in the future, which does get me annoyed. Anytime you ask me a question or want a current copy, if you don't say you're going to pay me money with it, I'm going to get annoyed because you're asking for my time. You're asking for my work on a new day, and to not offer me money is to not value it. And I'll answer your question like this, but I'm not sending you a copy today, man. Like, don't keep asking me to do that. Everybody, don't ask me to send you copies if you're not going to pay. I view it as super offensive. If I asked you for something that I originally paid you for and for you to do more work on it, it's not like bringing a car back to the shop that doesn't work. It does work. The file I sent you works. Your ability to update it is a learning process. So if you can't learn right away from one and you want more help from me, you should pay me for the day's copy. Think about it that way. So I'm done with NHL. I don't really care. I'm not betting today, but I hope I've answered your questions, and I expressed my annoyance. I don't want to be annoyed at people, but I'm going to get overwhelmed because I'm just going to get overwhelmed. And I'm okay getting overwhelmed when people are compensating me. I'm not okay getting overwhelmed when you just don't realize that you're asking me to do work, and the questions have long answers. All right. But I like answering them in videos, and I like helping people understand how databases are created and how to use them and problems you might have. You also got a whole bunch to do in this matrix. There's another player matrix. Sorry, there's another database in this file, right? There's also the player database and which team they play for. And oh gosh, you make me want to update the stats now because there's so many trades, and I'm sure there are even more trades. All right, I'm not done with this video. Let's do it. It doesn't take that long. I really should have like Bing AI doing this for us. I'm not going to worry about injuries, even though I probably should. Let's just do player and goalie stats, because there were so many trades that you have to. We're grabbing those two. First one I'm grabbing is the player stat. This is the process of how you update and matrix any new players or players that have gotten traded. So we're copying the entire player list that popped out, and we're going to paste it right here. Now we're going to check to make sure that we do have a new player, Frederick Alald. I'm going to add that player to the database so that we have a complete list of players. All right. Then we've also got goalie stats, which I guess I didn't open. Goalie stats is going to go on the G-stats sheet. And there's one weird little formula you have to adjust in that sheet as well. So we're pasting the goalie stats in the G-stats sheet. And this area in yellow in column H is actually a formula. So you need to grab the formula from below and just paste it. Now it works. And I think we're good. All right. So we go to the matrix and we're looking now for any oh-no's. There are no oh-no's. So that's good. So that means nobody's been traded in the last day or two since I did this. So we refresh, and there's actually one more area we could update, which is the standings, but I'm not going to worry about it. And, hardly anything probably changed because our stats really didn't change all that much. So you can look at the games. It does say Dallas, then Ottawa, then Winnipeg. I don't care about betting on hockey. I got too much stuff to do. Good luck, everybody. May all your picks be winning, and may all your databases be robust, basically, is what this video is about. Understand you got a main database, and that's the one you need to source your information from. And anytime you change it forever, you change it in that main database. That's what you should learn about working with databases. It helps you understand where source information is located, and it helps you just understand when you know something is right or you want to check to make sure it's what you think it is, it's looking for it in the main database. That's usually going to answer most of your questions. All right, good luck.